So today we're going to learn how to simplify fractions, also known as getting a fraction into its lowest terms. So let's start with an easy example. 2 over 4. So the first way we could easily simplify this is we notice that the numerator, the top part, the denominator, the bottom part, are both even numbers. So if we divide both parts by 2, so we divide the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2, we're going to get 1/2. So this is the fraction in the lowest terms, or simplified. They're the same value. Both of these fractions are the same value, but one of them is simplified. This one is simplified. So let's do another example. Let's do 4 by 6. So once again, these numbers are both even. So if we just divide it by 2, we divide the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2, we're going to get 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So this is the simplified fraction, 2 over 3. So let's do an example where it's not going to be even numbers. So here's another example, 3 over 9. In this example, we can't just divide by 2 to get the simplified fraction because both of these numbers are odd numbers. Odd numbers cannot be divided by 2. So another method that we can simplify fractions is by getting the greatest common factor, also known as the GCF. So the greatest common factor means the greatest factor that both the numerator and the denominator share. So that sounds a bit confusing, so let me show you what I mean. So a factor is a number that can be divided by another number. So we want to find the numbers that can be divided by the numerator and the denominator. So what numbers can be divided by 3? So we know 3 can be divided by 3 because 3 divided by 3 is 1. So let's write that down. And we know that 1 can be divided by 3. So these are two factors of the number 3. So now we need to find the factors of the number 9. So 9 is a factor of 9 because you can always divide 9 by 9. 3 is a factor of 9 because you could divide 3 from 9. And 1 is a factor of 9. So what the GFC means is what is the greatest common factor from this list. So the highest number that both of these numbers share, both the numerator and denominator, is 3. This is the greatest common factor, the greatest factor of here. So once we know that the greatest common factor is 3, now we can find the simplified fraction. So all we have to do is divide both sides, the numerator and denominator, by 3. So let's divide the numerator and the denominator by 3. So 3 divided by 3 right here, that's going to be 1. And 9 divided by 3 right here is going to be 3. So the final simplified fraction is going to be 1/3. We're going to show more examples about this because this seems a little confusing. So here's another example. For this example, we're going to be also using the GCF method. So we need to find the greatest common factor between 6 and 15, the numerator and denominator. So for 6, the factors are 6, because we could divide 6 by 6, 3, 2, and 1. All these numbers can be divided by 6. Now we can do 15. So we could divide 15 by 15, we could divide 5 by 15, we could divide 3 by 15, and we could divide 1 by 15. So we need to find the greatest common factor between these two lists. So they both have 1 in them, but that's not the greatest they have. So the greatest common factor between 6 and 15 is going to be 3. So we need to divide the numerator and denominator by 3 to get the simplified fraction. So 6, 15, we need to divide the numerator by 3 and the denominator by 3 because that is the greatest common factor. So 6 divided by 3, that's going to be 2, and 15 divided by 3, that's going to be 5. So our final simplified fraction is 2/5. So here's another example. So let's do this really quick. So we need to find the GCF for both the numerator and the denominator. So let's find the factors for 21. those are going to be 21, 7, 3, and 1. So now let's try to find the factors for 49. 49 would just be simply 49, 7, and 1. So once we find this, what is the greatest common factor? So 1 and 1 are both factors, but they're not the greatest. The greatest would be 7 and 7. They both have 7 in them. This is the highest number that they both have in common. So now that we know this, we need to divide 7 by the numerator and denominator. So 21 over 49 divided by 7 over 7. We're dividing the numerator and denominator. So 21 divided by 7, that's going to be 3. And 49 divided by 7, that's going to be 7. So our final simplified answer is 3 over 7. So we're going to do one more example to cover up this topic, and let's see if you guys could do this yourself. So the final example is going to be 24 over 36, and we need to simplify this. So I would recommend pausing this video, doing this for yourself, and I'm going to show you the answer. So pause now. So I'm going to show you how to get the answer. So first, we want to get the GCF. So let's list the factors of 24. The factors of 24, we could divide 24 by 24. We could divide 12 by 24. We could divide 8 by 24. Or no, not... Yeah, 8 by 24. And we could divide 4 by 24, 2, and 1. For the number 36, we could divide 36 by 36. We could divide 18 by 36. We could divide 12 by 36. We could divide 6 by 36. We could do 2 by 30 or 3 by 36, 2, and 1. So what is the greatest common factor that both of these share? So the biggest number that are seen in both of these lists is going to be 12. So 12 is the greatest common factor. Now we have to divide the numerator and denominator. So 24, and we need to divide both numerator and denominator by 12. So 12 and 12. So 24 divided by 12, that's going to be 2. And 36 divided by 12, that's going to be 3. So this is the final simplified fraction. So last thing I want to say about simplifying fractions is if they're both even numbers, you could just keep dividing the numerator and denominator by 2. But if they're not even numbers at all, what I would recommend doing is using the GCF method. Usually the GCF method is what I would use and is more advanced, but dividing by 2 until you get the simplified version is also a good method. But overall, I'd recommend GCF.